Lion Books, hard-boiled crime noir, good girl art, masterpieces. Hi, I'm Gary Lovisi, and we're continuing our foray into the examination of the original Lion Books series. Lion Books, just for a refresher a little bit, began with book number 1 in 1949, published by Martin Goodwin, and they went to 233 issues into 1955. They're all short-size paperbacks, and most of them are paperback originals with some of the best crime, hard-boiled, and noir books written. Jim Thompson, Richard Matheson's, Robert Bloch's, David Goodis, and then terrific cover art by DeSoto, McGuire, and Nappy, and many other fine artists. So it's a really good package. There was also later on Lion Library, but we're not going to get to those yet. This is the original Lion series, and just for we're going to be looking at this is part 4 of a 5-part examination of Lion Books, and we looked at. So I'm just going to let you know about the previous episodes. Lion number 1 to 50 was episode 76. Book number 51 to 100 was episode 84, and Lion 101 to 150 was in episode 118. And this episode we're going to look at Lion Books from 151 to 200, and then there'll be one more episode after this. So we're going to look at the entire series of books, and I have a complete run of them, and we're going to take a look at them now. I hope you enjoy it. To start off, I'm going to start off with Slaughter Street by Louis Faustine, 151. So I believe that's a McGuire cover. And an interesting thing about that was that in 1959 it was reprinted, which I'm reading it now in this edition. And it's a good book. It's a really good, tough, hard-boiled crime novel, noir, set in the Italian community of a big city. The next one is 152, is Frederick Lorenz. And these are from 1953. And this is a McGuire cover. Next one is, actually I have 2 of them. 153, Tough Guy by A.I. Bezarides. And actually one of them I have is signed. Some of these I have signed. It's really nice to have vintage paperbacks in this series and some of the other series signed. Next one, Naked in the Dark by Jean Paul, is 154. And now we start getting to the some of the cream of the crop that the people like. Savage Night by Jim Thompson is number 155. It's paperback original from 1953, and he used 2 women to feed his brute cravings. And I wonder if that's a Saul Levine cover. I'm not sure. I don't know what the Budinsky thinks.
I think about the one Naked in the Dark.
Yeah.
It looks like whoever did He Kissed Her There used that as the
okay. Yeah.
the model.
Oh, maybe.
Do you see?
Yeah.
It's red too, right?
Yeah, and she is
Yes.
pointing. Yeah. I wonder. That's He Kissed Her There is a sleaze book, which we don't have handy right now, but.
I think you did something on that one.
Yeah, yeah. Next one is Hero's Lust by Kermit Jadiker, number 156.
These are all great covers. So.
Yeah. And the next one is, at least the first one, a Western, The Lone Gun Hawk by Frank Gruber, 157. All of the even the westerns that Lion did were tough, hard-boiled kind of um, action-packed books that could have easily fit into the hard-boiled crime area. So a lot of their books were the same, and the westerns are pretty scarce. Some of them. Westerns were very popular. A lot of them were read to death. They weren't collected or saved. The crime books and the science fiction were usually collected and saved by readers, but the westerns not so much. They were just read and they fall apart because these were delicate books actually, and after many years they kind of get a little weak. They were not the best made constructed paperbacks. They were made for disposable fiction is basically what a lot of these pulp material, pulp magazines, pulp digest magazines, and pulp paperbacks were. So the next one is The Utah Kid by Roe Richmond. It's 158. It's a kind of a tough one to find. Really good one is a scandal, booze, and race hatreds turned the townfolk into raging brutes. So that's Sin People by George Milburn, and it's 1959. And this takes place in Oklahoma town, and it's a crime noir, racial, good girl art sleaze, and it's also, I believe it's a McGuire cover. Number 160 is Sexual Practices of American Women by Christopher Gerould. It's a report on female behavior, which probably a lot of guys in these days probably can't get this to look at it and to read the good parts, so to speak. A lot of these so-called nonfiction books were just really would exploit like the subject of sex in a more serious way than the fiction that they published. The next book is 161, The Hoodlum, or Kiss of Death by Elazar Lipsky. Classic hard-boiled crime noir. Great book. Next one is 162, Angel by Curtis Lucas. Another racial novel. I think Curtis Lucas was an African-American author who wrote a couple of books for Lion. They had a few authors who wrote some good books for them. Next one is 163, Gunsight by Frank Gruber. Can't make out the artist's name, but it's another hard-boiled western. And the next,
so faint from here, but I can't see it either.
yeah, it's hard to see. And the next one is number 164, Platoon by Adam Singer. War
Is it
novel.
The Platoon?
No, not The Platoon. It's Platoon.
No,
Yeah.
I know. I'm saying is it the movie was not based on this.
I don't think so. No. And I think this is World War II. Next one is The Big Lure by William Manners, number 165. She pitted brother against brother in her cravings for new sensation. And this is a hard-boiled kind of boxing, good girl noir novel. Next one is 166, Doc Walloper by Benjamin Appel. Prostitution, teenage evil, dope, vice on the waterfront. So this is all the kind of stuff that was going on in the waterfront. Kind of like on the waterfront. Maybe before, I don't know when that movie came out, but this book might have been a precursor to that kind of a book that took a fiction story in that locale.
The format has changed too, right?
The what?
The stripe around 3 sides. They don't have it on that. You see how the others have that
Yeah.
color around the edge on 3 sides?
Yeah.
That one doesn't.
Yeah. Next one is Every Man's Bible.
That one either.
Selected King James Version by Manuel Komaroff, and it's line 167. So these are selections from the Bible. So they had religious books. They had a lot of westerns, a lot of hard-boiled crime in the Lion series, and they had even some religious books, some war books, and even a few science fiction. Next one is Killer's Crossing by Bert Arthur, number 168, and another hard-boiled crime noir, little masterpiece. 169 is The Gunslammer by Lee Florin. It takes place in the wilds of Arizona. One that I really like, the cover art on this one is Sailor's Luck by Basil Heater, number 170. When he hit town, all the babes were waiting. And it's like there's a sailor comes to town. I don't know why his shirt's off, but he's getting a tattoo.
It's
maybe
hot.
it's hot. Yeah, it's really hot. And she's like, it's kind of like, hey, sailor, and he's like, hey, So it's like cool, like 50s kind of sexy stuff. And this is even a better one. This is 171, Hot Cargo by G.H. Otis, who was Otis Hemingway Gaylord. And this is from 1953. This is a McGuire cover. And this is an incredible hard-boiled noir crime novel and spy novel set on a ship that's like a low-life tramp ship that's got all kinds of scoundrels on it, and then there's one sexy hot babe that's doing everything she can to set all the men at each other's throats. It's a wild, wild book. Next one is 172, and it's Korea's Heroes, the Medal of Honor story by Bruce Jacobs. .173 is The Dream and the Flesh by Vivian Connell. A lot of these books have women in various stages of undress, or men in stages of getting ready to get undressed or dressed. And there's like a noir sensibility about all of them that's really interesting. They're really artwork is terrific, and the stories are really, really good. Number 174, The Corruptors by William Francis. A man digs belly deep into an evil town. This is 1953. And 175 is The Gun Trail by H.A. Di Rosso. And it's another Western, range war Western novel. So those are the lions up to 175. I'm going to put those up here for now, for a minute. And we're going to continue. Lion 176, Valerie by Jordan Park. And this is a McGuire cover, and Jordan Park is the science fiction author C.M. Kornbluth. And the blurb, she drifted down the path to hell. So it's all, this would be like a typical blurb on any noir lion book, because there was always people were on the highway to hell at super speed in a lot of these books. And in real life, it's not any fun, but when you're reading about it in a fiction novel, it is fun. It's interesting, and it's so it's this C.M. Kornbluth book. Number 177 is Men and Women, edited by William Kozlenko, and this has Steinbeck, Sherwood Anderson, Van Tilburn Clark, Sinclair Lewis, and others. Stories into basically the human heart, the story of men and women. Another one of those kind of literary and almost nonfiction, even though these are all stories, it's fiction. It's more serious look at the life of men and women. Kind of like after all the sleaze that Lion publishes and all the hard-boiled crime and the violent westerns, they wanted to sometimes show maybe that they were publishing some, really classy stuff by classy authors or
I think
whatever.
they just wanted to sell books.
Yeah, they just wanted to sell books. I mean, that's really what it was, especially Lion. I mean, that was Martin Goodman's outfit, and they were just into selling goods, selling books and getting as attractive a package as they could to get the attention of the book reader. Number 178 is Bloody River by Paul Durst, and this is Santa Fe, New Mexico, is the locale for this Western novel. Next one is number 179, Conjure Wife by Fritz Leiber, which is a science fiction fantasy novel about witchcraft, and it's also a Maguire cover. One of the tough book to find in nice condition. It's a beautiful little book, great story. Number 180 is a classic, Fury on Sunday by Richard Matheson. It's one of the two Richard Matheson Lion paperback originals. Cover art is signed, but I can't make it out.
From here it looks like Barry. Let me see.
No, it doesn't. I don't think so. It looks like
Oh no, Dane?
Paul, maybe.
Oh, Paul. Yeah, definitely
maybe Paul.
Who's Paul? That's the last name?
Yeah, he did a lot of pyramid
Paul.
books. It's like
Definitely.
Paul. It's one of his good ones. He's usually not that good. The next one is number 181, The Oxbow Kill by C. William Harrison. Another range war. And this is a Maguire cover. He's signed boldly there. Oxbow Kill is probably to tie in with the Oxbow incident. C. William Harrison was a pseudonym. I think it was for William Hobson. So this was probably a book put together to capitalize on the movie, The Oxbow Incident, which was popular in that time.
Did you ever talk about Maguire and the signing of books? What he said?
The what?
Maguire and what he said about signing paintings for publication. Did you ever talk about that?
No, I don't know.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
No.
So he used to say that when he signed his name, they were always trying to cut it off.
Oh, yeah. That's, yeah. Yeah, there was a thing that Bob told Lucille and me that when he was doing the paintings for the books, he used to sign lower down on the painting, and they'd always cover. They'd always cut his name off, and so like here, it's like down here, so they kind of cut it off, but you could just see a little bit of it. But so then he moved it up to here, and they'd cut it out. So eventually he ended up putting his name like right by the person's.
Yeah, he told me they're going to have to decapitate her to cut my name off.
Yeah, yeah. So he wanted to make sure that he got.
But then when they printed it, they put type over it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just like sometimes you can't win. But
he also said he invented the first barcode. because his signature looks like
with the three
in the
lines
old
for
ones
the
looks
M.
like a barcode.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
I
in
love
some of the
that
things, yeah.
signature. I love
It's
that
funny.
classic signature.
Felt like when he said that. They're going to have to cut her head off to take my name out of this
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Moving right along, the next
Sorry.
one is 182, O'Mara by Lawrence Green. Story of a swaggering hellhound. I guess it's a newspaper reporter, his job, the booze, the women. Next one is 183, Trouble on Crazy Man by Sam Allison. Set in Wyoming, Western. Next one is another Jim Thompson, number 184. The Criminal. They charged him with rape and murder.
I don't know, Jim Thompson. That's a pretty thin book.
Yeah, some of the books were pretty thin. A lot of them were. I mean,
like
this
the
one,
cover.
185, The Kidnapper by Robert Bloch. Also thin. Slim books.
Did Jim Thompson sell in his era popular?
Yes, he was popular, and he kept writing a lot of books for Lion Library, for gold medal books, and for a lot of other publishers, and then they reprinted them while he was still alive. But the sad thing is, like when he died in the 1970s, I guess it was the middle or late 70s, none of his books were in print.
Oh.
So it's like, and we saw him in that movie, the Robert Mitchum, where Robert Mitchum played Philip Marlowe, the Raymond Chandler movie. I can't remember the title offhand. I think it was A Long Goodbye.
Something like that.
I don't remember which one it was, but Robert Mitchum played, and the father of the girl was Jim Thompson.
No, father wasn't her older husband.
He was the husband.
Yeah.
He was the older husband of the. Actually, the girl was a
villain,
prostitute.
right? She was like
she was
villain.
really evil.
Or femme fatale, you want to say?
Yeah, she was really a wicked, evil woman. But Jim Thompson was in that. That's pretty
doing
cool.
her best Lauren Bacall. Right?
Yeah, she was doing a Lauren Bacall thing. The next one is 186, The Blonde on the Street Corner by David Goodis. This is from 1954. I love this one. It's a Maguire cover. It's just stunning. It's beautiful, and it's a great read. Really, this copy I bought at my show years ago. It's an expensive book. I got it for $5, and then I took a walk, maybe like 2 tables over, and asked Bob McGuire to sign it for me because he was a guest at my show that day in the New York show, and it was pretty cool that I just walked over there and had Bob, can you sign this for me? He did. Yeah, it's like a nice memory. He was a great guy, great guy,
Loved him.
and a funny guy. He had a great sense of humor. Next one is 187, The Dakota Deal by Riley Ryan. Another hard-bitten, hard-boiled Western, done the Lion way. 188 is The Naked Year by Philip Attlee, and they groped for excitement in an age of boredom. This is kind of almost like the original title was The Inheritors, and Lion spiced it up by calling it The Naked Year, because it put naked in the title. And that's the cover for The Naked Year, Philip Attlee. The next one is 189, Two Gun Texan by Bert Arthur. Next one is 190, The Joy Wheel by Paul W. Fairman, and this is a Chicago gangster crime novel. Paul Fairman's a pretty good author, wrote some good stuff. 191 is Strange Desires. Interesting book. It's got Faulkner, Thomas Mann, other writers, and it has a really cool wraparound cover, surreal cover art, and you can see the back cover. And this was actually art that I used later on in my when I published the second book written by Howard Schoenfeld, and we used this art on his book. Howard only wrote one book and he was a guest at my show, and he only wrote one book, and it was
Let 'Em Eat Bullets.
Let 'Em Eat Bullets. And then I says, like, we only wrote one book. Why don't you, we could publish a second book. And he had all of this stuff. He had some great science fiction and crime stories. And then he had like some stuff about his life when he was in Hot Springs, Arkansas, during the time of Al Capone and other gangsters, and what was going on there with him and his brother. His brother was a cop who was trying to clean up the town. So there's like a lot of personal and true crime, true gangster material in that book.
What's it called?
That's a good question. I think it's True and Almost True Stories.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, Howard Schoenfeld. We used this art. I believe it was the back cover art we used on the book. Tough book to find now. It's been out of print for years, and it's sold quite well. Next one is a great one, 192, The Golden Gizmo, again by Jim Thompson. Outcasts of Society. It's interesting, the artwork. Next one is very good hard-boiled novel. Night Never Ends by Frederick Lawrence. This is number 193. Again, Lion had a lot of variety in their books. Number 194, The Baseball Stars of 1954. This one has Al Rosen and Roy Campanella on the cover. Inside Stories of 28 baseball greats. This is the second baseball book that appeared in the Lion book series. Lion Library would later have two more from 1955 and 1956, but this is Baseball Stars of 1954, and an earlier Lion book, I think number 23, was Baseball Stars of 1953. So some good, cool baseball books that they published, and we're going to be doing something on baseball books soon, because baseball season seems to be reopening, and we'll see how that goes. The next one is 195, Apache Greed by William Hobson, and this is basically a white woman with an Apache warrior, kind of a story, love story, and but set during the wars of the Apaches fighting against settlers and against the cavalry, and all this typical Western historical novel. 196 is A Dog's Head by Jean Dutard.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah, well, it's French, so. It's a fantasy novel, and it is from the French, translated. Tough book to find in the Lion series. Number 197, we're getting near the 200 mark, is The Naked Knight. They like to use naked in the title, by Dan Brennan. the savage yearnings of men and women who lived each hour to the hilt. This is a war novel, obviously. The next one is 198, Sin Pit by Paul Mescal. And this is Paul Mescal wrote a lot of true crime. He was a newspaper guy. He wrote for the Brooklyn Daily Eagle. He also wrote for the newspapers in St. Louis, Missouri. But he wrote a lot of true crime books about Nazi atrocities, also about the Mafia, Lucky Luciano, and others. And he wrote just one crime novel, Sin Pit. And it is a classic, is a magnificent book. And I reprinted this years ago when Paul was a guest at my show. I reprinted it for the show in a small edition of a couple of hundred copies. But whether you read the original Lion edition, which has become a cult classic, or the Gryphon Books reprint, I mean, it's kind of tough to find now, but it is a great read. It is just incredible. Next one, 199, Ambush Hell by George C. Appel. Another tough Western. And Lion Book number 200, The Long Thrill by Olga Rose Maneth. And this is a married man in trouble in the back streets of Greenwich Village. Yeah, takes place in Greenwich Village in the 50s. So there you have a look at Lion Books number 151 to 200, and this is part 4 of our 5-part examination of all the Lion Books, which we're going to do the next part from 201 to 233 upcoming soon. And just want to tell you that the earlier Lion Books, all the videos, the previous 3 are all available on this channel on YouTube. And if you look in the description below, you'll see what books are, what numbers are listed in what episode. So you can, if you want to peruse those, you can go through and see the whole series up until number 200, and soon we'll do the entire last part. So this is part 4 of 5. So I hope you enjoyed this look at Lion Books. They're really cool. They're really some great reading. They've held up the test of time, and a lot of companies are reprinting them. Stark House is reprinting various Lion editions, as well as other publishers who mine the Lion and Lion Library vineyards for great crime noir material. And there's still a lot there that's not generally well known and is really excellent. So there's a lot of cult classics in this series. So with that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this look at Lion Books. If you did, give us a thumbs up and a like. Subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it, and pick up a Lion book sometime and read one of these crime or Western books. I think you might be surprised. They're really good. Thanks a lot for looking. See you next time.